As silence fell, his anger seemed to dissipate, leaving a deep sense of self-blame and sorrow. If it wasn't his child in her stomach, she might not have been hurt in such a way. If he had been more insistent when he got her to visit the doctor, he would have known of her pregnancy before the man could have put preventive measures in place. He didn't find out early enough, failing to protect her and their child. It was him who had let her down. It was all his fault, his birth being the start of the mistake. When he was 3 years old, he had gotten leukemia and his mother had knelt outside Shaw family's mansion, begging them to save his life, and from then on, his life was deeply entangled with the life of the Shaw family. He promised to love her with all his ability. How did he bring her harm? Lu Jinian's breathing became irregular, his blood pumping fast and strong. Even though it was autumn, he felt icy cold, his whole body no better than ice. But no matter how much his body hurt, it could not be on par with the pain he felt in his heart. That child was just 2 months old. He hadn't even formed fully yet. He was taken away from this world so silently. Tianhao was a child that they had known since young. How could they harm her? How ruthless must they be to have done such a thing? Lu Jinian seemed to have lost all sense, only feeling a coppery taste in his mouth, forcing itself out. He couldn't seem to hold it in any longer, vomiting a mouthful of blood. The door to Lu Jinian's study room wasn't locked. Tianhao lightly pushed, and it opened. The study room was silent. She stuck her head in instinctively, and froze at the sight. The study room was no longer how it looked before, the exquisite and grand decor long gone. It was a hideous mess now. Tianhao stood in a daze for about a minute before getting her senses back. She forced the shock down and walked in to take a closer look. In the middle of the room floor, Lu Jinian lay with his eyes wide open, as he stared at the ceiling. He seemed to be in deep thought, his face a mask of misery. Tianhao felt her heart clench. The next moment, she saw him spit out a mouthful of blood, his face turning white. Lu Jinian! She screamed, running into the study room. As she approached, she realized that there were multiple cuts on his body, caused by the glass shards on the floor. Her heart sank. Instinctively, she froze momentarily, then reached out to help him up. But the moment she touched his arm, he seemed to have been electrocuted, tossing her hand away instantly, then pushing her onto the floor. The spot that she landed didn't have any glass, but her arm had hit onto the lamp, causing a cut to form. Tianhao frowned, but she didn't look at her injury. Her gaze was focused on Lu Jinian. His perfect features appeared cold and distant, his eyes holding a menacing glint.